Hello, you guys. It is Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're going to talk about the Sun through Sagittarius cycle for 2017. It's a really big one. And here are the start times for each section. I'm basically just going to do a big overview, walk you through the charts that are important, and then do a piece on the beginning of this Saturn through Capricorn thing that begins at the very end of this cycle. Plus, there's a resource section and a little gift to get the holiday spirit going. So, thank you again for tuning in, and let's jump in. Okay, so let's go chart by chart as usual, and then I'll post postcards with some of the other details that I'm sharing as we walk through. So at the beginning, of course, the sun goes into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is our mutable fire sign, usually a very optimistic energy, and it feels lighter because we've all just come through Scorpio and all that, fixed water energy and all the Scorpio themes, detection, sexuality, abuse of power, power, healing, dark secrets, and it has not failed to disappoint. And of course, as you can see from this chart with the Scorpio glyph, for you guys who don't know, the Sag glyph is the one with the little arrow looking thing. It's the archer's bow, and Scorpio is there before it, and Libra, where Mars is the one before that, and Mars will be going into Scorpio. So we're still going to have a lot of Scorpio energy happening during this cycle because, of course, we also have Jupiter there for the next year. So Scorpio is definitely going to be in effect, and we're going to continue to feel all that. That having been said, I do want to give Sagittarius its due this year because we're also going to get a lot of Capricorn stuff coming after that. And because this is the last of Saturn in Sagittarius, it's a really big cycle. On this chart, notice Neptune. You can't tell from the chart, but I will just share it's getting ready to station the very next day. Um, and it's at about 11 degrees. That's going to become important in the next chart. So let's get to that. This is what I've kind of circled during the cycle as a really big part of it. So we have several things going on right within a few days of each other. We have Venus getting out of all that Scorpio energy and joining the party in Sagittarius. And that'll feel really good for this time of year because it's such a sociable sign. And it's, I think, where Venus is happier in a lot of ways. And again, continuing to lighten up things. We also have, I told you about this in the last video, we have our first Jupiter trine to Neptune. Beautiful energy, and of course, doesn't just happen while it technically happens on the 2nd of December. There's a longer buildup, as you guys know, with the outer planets. Anytime we have Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto involved, there's a buildup. And so, as you can see here, nice meeting between these two, very positive aspect. And the next part of it going into, that's why I said this is like a jam-packed chart and time, that first weekend of December. So next thing we have here on the 3rd, Mercury begins its retrograde in Sagittarius. And so here is a card for the whole retrograde cycle, including the shadow periods. Now, for the people with basic astrology, just remember the 3rd through the 22nd and maybe get your stuff done a little ahead of that. And then for you guys who watch this a little more carefully, you'll know that what you'll want to do is watch the whole shadow period. We don't come out of that until January 10th of next year. So we're in Mercury and Sag. And again, it may be helping to elevate our moods, elevate the energy. everything that is Sag, it's Jupiter ruled, so it tends to be positive, optimistic. It's, seeing what's possible on the horizon. That having been said, I think this year it's definitely very tempered with the energies in Scorpio. Now, next thing also around this time period is the full moon. We have a full moon in Gemini there at 11 degrees and 40 minutes. And you'll notice when Neptune came out of its retrograde, it was at 11 degrees. So I feel like this is kind of a strong full moon, and it is another, push of all of that mutable energy. So it could get kind of wonky. It's hard to really say how all these will shake out, but you guys know the stuff we've been through over the last couple years with politics, and because, Jupiter, Sagittarius's ruler is all about beliefs. And so people have gotten a little crazy on either side, both sides, all sides. It's gotten a little fanatical, and that's the shadow side of Sagittarius, because people believe that they're right, whatever right is in their world. So, I'm not overly fearful, but this weekend might also be one to be a little careful, aware of your surroundings, etc., etc., because it is mutable stuff being stirred back up again. It has that Neptune aspect to it, which again plays into politics and belief systems and all that kind of stuff. So that's that chart and time, big time during this cycle. Next one is Mars heading into Scorpio. This is a really big deal because we're just not shaking that Scorpio thing anytime soon, man. And wow, Mars and Jupiter together. Woo! And Mars is there until the end of January next year. So the 26th of January, I believe, is the date that it leaves. And you guys know Mars, it's an engine, it's a driver. It just, whatever we're applying it to, it goes at it with a passion, with a ferocity. And then you expand all that with Jupiter blowing it up, making it bigger. So I would just expect the scandals and all of that. Like, I can't even keep up with them between, I think the one that had the funniest name was Fat Leonard. Google that. It was like 16 Navy admirals. I mean, and I'm not laughing about the really serious sexual abuse and pedogate and all the like horrible stuff. I mean, we predicted, once Jupiter got into Scorpio, it was going to start cleaning up stuff. And that has absolutely kept happening during this time. Mars will just crank it up, take it to a whole other level and make the digging and the scandals, because it's really there trying to help us reform things. And again, I see very positive aspects with Pluto in Capricorn. They're trying to clean up our institutions, governments, banks, all those things. But I want to keep to the topic of this video. So let's move on to the next chart. I really wanted to get to the chart after this, but I was like, guides were like, no, you got to share the full moon chart or the new moon chart. You got to share the new moon chart in Sagittarius, because I feel like this is lovely. Late on the 17th, I believe early on the 18th Eastern Standard Time, there is a new Sagittarius moon. And Sagittarius, again, is always an opportunity to get positive, feel positive, fill ourselves with a sense of what's possible, with wonder, with, everybody remembers it's Walt Disney's sign. And, we can be hopeful. And we have enough in the signs that make things practical, but this is just such a nice alignment. The Sun, Venus, Mercury, even if it is retrograde, and a new moon, beautiful time to put a wish, if you wish upon a star, out into the cosmos, and a very strong degree as well. So, we got to give a new moon its due. Christmas wishes, those, kinds of ideas, and maybe even take it to doing something nice for someone. The beauty in the world, the goodness in all of us. So I like this chart, and the one that I want to get to, which leads into part two of this video, is da-da! We finally get to Saturn leaving Sagittarius. You guys know, I know different astrologers and people have different takes on this. I'm just glad it's over. It's just- and you know me, I'm like the most like golden retriever, like happy about every aspect, or I find the good in almost everything. And this one's just a bit of bear. I will not be sad to see Sagittarius, Saturn leave Sagittarius. It's just, mutable crosses. I mean, we went through so much. It's just been not my favorite time, and I know for the mutable people, my mutable clients, oh my God, you guys, like big party December 19th. Just throw, you guys did it. This is like now if we were running 10K and we could at least see the finish line. This last month is just, even if you're walking or barely jogging or puttering along, you're there. I mean, we made it. And I also think it will be the end of the super craziness that we've seen in the world again, because this has all been influenced by people, everybody believing they're right, and getting fanatical, getting really crazy. So I'm glad to see this period going. Now, that having been said, let's break down what Saturn coming home to Capricorn is about. So let's do that in the next section. Okay, so we are starting a huge transit. This is such an unusually long one for Saturn. It is going to be in Capricorn for the next 3 years. Yes, 3 years. Here's the chart for when it enters, and here's the chart for when it leaves for good. Now, as you guys know, planets go retrograde and then come direct. So Saturn will actually get into Aquarius in March of 2020. It goes into the next sign, then it goes retrograde. So from March through July of 2020, it will venture into Aquarius. But really, you guys, we have a whole lot of Saturn in Capricorn. I'm not even gonna kid you about that. Now, this can go so many ways, but I'm seeing it. I mean, of course, it's up to us each to, figure out how we're going to work in this, what we're going to do with it. But I see it as so supported first by this Jupiter thing in Scorpio, but the whole time being supported by Pluto. These guys are going to reform, clean things out. Now, is there a danger that it could get authoritarian and scary? Yeah, there is. There is. I fully acknowledge that. However, and is it likely to be a more conservative time? Yes. I mean, that's Saturn and Capricorn. We think of austerity. We think about having goals and having to work for them. No shortcuts. Sorry, not Sag. Capricorn is all about success, but it's renowned, and it's an earned success. And and I feel like there's a nice aspect both with Pluto cleaning things up and again our Scorpio energies being in effect for quite a while. And it was funny if you notice in this chart a couple years from now, I had to laugh because Jupiter's there by the end of this transit. So we are going to keep these Capricornian themes. We're talking about building things. Well, we talk about setting goals, working for them, achievement, and it's public reputation. So I again think these are really wonderful aspects. Of course, next year, Uranus goes into Taurus where it will be trining. So we're going to have this massive Earth support happening. These are our big players, Pluto and Uranus, and they've been squaring, as everybody knows from, the exact squares, the series of 7, 2012 to 2015. So now to have a harmonious aspect is going to be really big. This is all about building your legacy, what do you see big picture? And there are going to be a lot of tools for accomplishing that. So um, it will be in Capricorn for the next 2 years solid. I even looked up the retrogrades for next year. It's not going back to Sag. So we are done with Saturn in Sagittarius and all the brutal, mutable squaring. We're coming into a time of building things, of being productive, of more traditional energies being applied. And so I think it's a very positive and constructive, would definitely be a Capricornian word for it. And so, obviously things are going to be what we make of them, but I see this as a really positive time ahead. And you will want to look and see which house this falls in for you and where it interacts with your chart. I'll get onto that in a second in the resources section so you know how to use these next 3 years. But this is an unusually long cycle, and it's going to have a lot of support. The nodes will shift later next year so that we have the South Node in Capricorn. So we're going to get a whole lot of Capricorn, and it's all about building things, working for things, ambition. But it's a very sober ambition, and it's the accomplishment when you do things well and you do things right and you take responsibility are unparalleled. So I'm going to leave you with that and I'll be discussing each thing as it comes up more, but I wanted to, break it down for you a little and just introduce you to it. I think it's going to be such a positive, productive time. And again, I'm getting ready to pop a bottle of something on the 19th when we finally get rid of Saturn and Sag. Okay, so let's jump into the resources section. Okay, so I'm Elizabeth at Elizabeth's Oracle. If you would, feel free to drop by to schedule a reading, to sign up for my free newsletter. And because I really genuinely want to have the spirit of celebration and of goodness, like not only celebrating Saturn leaving Sag, but also really just to show such gratitude for being able to do the work that I do. I've been, giving specials to my clients already to get this holiday feeling there because we have seen turmoil in the world. And I think the only antidote to that is our goodness. And so things that remind us of that, the ability to give, become more important, and they can really shift the energy. So for anybody who's new to the site, I'm running this holiday special. You can use the code HOLIDAY2017 and you'll get 10% off on any reading. I'm also going to visit with my friend Kristy Ayala on her show, Kristy's Connection to the Soul. We do that on Blog Talk Radio, and it's also always archived, so you can listen to it anytime. And that's super helpful because if I've forgotten something, I didn't get it into the video, I usually pick it up on Kristy's show, and she has angel messages, and again, bringing in all the light of the holiday season right now, I think is so important. And again, it's the stuff that can just shift us out of the difficulty, and the horrendous stuff that we've seen in the world, is to remember our connection, remember our goodness, and our connections to Source. So I think that's everything that I need to go over with you guys. And when we meet next time, it will be winter solstice when the sun joins the Capricorn party. I know people are like, Capricorn party? What? But we're coming into a big time ahead. And so I'm very grateful that you guys watched, and I look forward to connecting with you then. Thank you.